Hello and welcome! Today we will talk about earning all the weapon camos in MWR, the gold, the Regal, and ultimately, spoiler alert, there is a hidden camo after Regal, of course. You can skip 30 seconds or something if you don't want to hear any more about it. It is called Exclusion Zone. Mixed feelings on it. I like that it is pretty fancy while not being too crazy. It is a live camo, it does glow and the green flows around a bit, but thankfully it isn't a repeat of the flashy dark matter swirling all around. That was great for Black Ops 3 and all, I had no problems with it, but it really wouldn't fit into this game, and this is bordering on that. Anyway, I do have what I think are some interesting things to go through. I won't just tell you to use a stun grenade and aim for the head. You don't need to be told that. What I mainly want to do is go through the weapon stats and find which ones might be really good candidates to use in hardcore mode. Not everyone's a fan of hardcore, I get that, but in some cases it might make your time earning headshots a lot easier and a lot faster. Surprisingly faster. Timestamps in the description should help you navigate this video if you like. This might be the only video I make about the weapon camos, just because of the way they're set up. That's the evolution of camo guides. In Advanced Warfare there was a video for nearly every gun, because there were all those variants to go through and rank. Then in Black Ops 3 there were only 3 camo videos, each covering a few classes, because there were different challenges for each class, from one-shot kills and long shots to the 5 kills in a row and all that. But now, only really need one video because we only have one thing to focus on. Headshots, getting back to the basics. There are a couple other camo challenges, of course, but those are all very simple. You just need a bunch of kills with no attachments, and then a bunch of kills with a specified attachment, or in the case of the Deagle, which doesn't have any attachments, they chose crouched kills for some reason, which I appreciate the simplicity. They could have done all the complicated stuff like getting kill streaks and getting kills with certain perks and getting quick swap kills for sidearms. You name it, it isn't hard to think of more challenges, but there's none of that to worry about this time around. So, headshot time. I already spoiled that I want to take an in-depth look at hardcore mode and how it can be very beneficial, so I guess I should cover all the other little things you should know about before diving into that core of the video. First of all, maybe the elephant in the room here is the cage match game mode. I considered not talking about this at all. I don't really know if it would be better to mention it or not to, but I decided I should so that I can recommend you do not do it. You probably already know that many people exploit the cage match game mode as a way to boost, just like they did way back in the day, until the cage match mode was removed halfway through the Modern Warfare 2 lifecycle, I believe. That third-person cage match, that was a pretty weird mode to have in a COD game. Anyway, since there's only one other person in a cage match, I guess you can get on the mic and maybe get matched up with someone who's willing to boost, or you can try to invite a friend. I won't go into detail on how that is done, and in fact, I really don't know. I've never played a cage match in this game, and I intend to never play a cage match, just so that it is clear I am not boosting for my headshots. Unfortunately, I don't think there is any cage match leaderboard. It all just gets mashed into your free-for-all stats. But I won't be playing much free-for-all either. I'll only play it for the game mode challenges eventually. And in fact, just because this issue matters to me, I won't play free-for-all until I've earned all the headshot camos. You might think that's dumb, but I really am on the side that boosting defeats the entire purpose of the challenge. It defeats the accomplishment, and it makes the camos not worth anything to me. They're meant to show off your proficiency with all the different weapons and your dedication to the grind, but if you boost for them, it's like, yeah, good job, dude, you boosted. Good for you, you really proved yourself. What I hate about it is that if I earn my Exclusion Zone camo at like Prestige 8 or something, I would hate for people to look at me and think, ah, that idiot, he just boosted for that, reported. I guess everyone plays the game for different reasons. Normally, I'll just live and let live. You play how you want to play, but it takes away from the accomplishment to me. Anyway, I will just give one reminder that yes, boosting is against their security and enforcement policy. I'll link it below. They are well within their ability to perhaps see that you have a ridiculous ratio of headshots in cage match, or if they have that data somewhere, or just in free-for-all, I suppose, and they can suspend your account and reset your stats and camos. I haven't heard of it happening. I doubt they're monitoring your stats. I think they just go off reports, but just saying, it is cheating, and above all that, I think it completely defeats the purpose. Now that we've addressed that issue, as far as other tips go to keep in mind before we get to hardcore, I mocked the whole stun grenades and aim for the head thing as being obvious, but it is legit. Most people just aim for center mass as they play on autopilot, because that's the easiest way to take someone down and not worry about the recoil. You will get the occasional headshot that way, but if you play the game always thinking about getting headshots, you will get a lot more headshots, go figure, and stuns and flashes can definitely help you line up a headshot. You could even run the tactical ×3 perk. Stuns stop people from moving, which is nice, but most people react to being stunned by lying down or even jumping around, which is annoying, whereas flashes don't stop you from moving, but many people will just lie down when flashed, and the flash effect lasts for a month and a half in this game, so either of those are a good option. The stuns are often just more useful because of how quickly you can throw them. No heat wave ability in this game for the good old heat wave aim kill hacking method. Sorry about that. Another thing I will recommend you keep in mind for this game is working on all of the camo challenges at once, and working on the higher up weapons as you unlock them. Basically, spread the love if you want to be the most efficient. I would have a class set up for each primary weapon type, something like this. I feel it matters more for this game than it did in previous games, mainly because of the map variety. The maps of this game might be my favorite part about it returning. Looking back, I always used to focus on completing a weapon class and then moving on to the next one, because that feels good. It gives you a sense of completion, that immediate gratification. Like in Black Ops 3, I did the shotguns first, and even though I was ages away from Dark Matter at that point, I had the diamond shotguns within the first couple weeks because of all the Nuketown 24/7. In this game though, I would really recommend working on everything at once so you can pick the right weapon for the job. It would suck to limit yourself to only the Winchester 1200 first and be trying to get shotgun headshots on bog or ambush running around in the open, and then maybe when you're done with shotguns you're limited to only the R700 and you're trying to get headshots on shipment. It just doesn't make sense. Work on everything at once so you can pick the right weapon for the map. And I say work on things as you unlock them, because if you're prestiging all the way up, it doesn't make sense to only focus on the first weapon you unlock in a class, like the MP5, because there will be times where you think, I wish I had an SMG to use, but all the ones I have unlocked right now are already completed. I need to unlock the P90 before I can keep earning those camos. So it might be a good idea to work from the highest unlocks downward. I'm always switching up classes as I level up, as I've said, spreading love between all the weapons, and it keeps the gameplay fresh as well. Move over M16, the Uzi is clearly where it's at. Looking at what I've unlocked so far, I've definitely been spreading it out. I have 1,200 headshots out of the total 3,400 headshots I think that you need, but not a single Red Tiger camo unlocked yet, just a whole lot of digital. Another mini-tip type thing, a lot of people talk about how getting shotgun headshots is annoying, and how even at point blank sometimes it seems like you're aiming right at their head and it doesn't give it to you. It is true that there is no headshot multiplier for the shotgun pellet, so that really doesn't help. But what you can do is aim just a little above the head. The pellets do spread, as you know, even if you're aiming down your sights. It doesn't tighten up to a tiny little pellet like the Argus in Black Ops 3. So your best bet is to get steady aim and run around hip firing at the head region. You can get a lot of headshots that way. I really don't know how exactly the headshot is calculated, how they decide what the last pellet to hit is. But I do know that if all of your pellets hit their head, you have to get the headshot, so if you sneak up behind someone lying down, don't aim at the middle of their head, because a stray pellet could hit a neck region. Just aim at the top of their head for a much better chance at the headshot. Back to that map-specific advice idea, I do all of my shotgun grinding every time shipment comes up. I have a shotgun class ready for shipment, and shipment only. That just seems like the most efficient time to be using a shotgun. Alright, there are some tidbits of advice. Time to get to hardcore mode. This game may not have a fancy schmancy high caliber attachment to increase headshot damage, but what it does have is a very respectable headshot multiplier without any need for an attachment. For most weapons it is 1.4 times, just like stopping power, designed to mean one fewer shot to kill. The shotguns have nothing though, and the sniper rifles plus the M14 have a 1.5 times. What this does along with stopping power is it enables every weapon in the game to get one-shot headshot kills at every range in hardcore. If the enemy has Juggernaut though, or if you don't run stopping power, still every weapon in the game will have a one-shot headshot kill at close range, but for some weapons that drop off to 20 damage, that's where you have a bit of a problem. Now I know that stopping power and Juggernaut in hardcore mode don't make nearly as much sense as they do in core. Most people in hardcore opt to run UAV jammer since it's a more campy mode overall, or maybe something like sleight of hand or double tap or overkill. They all make a lot more sense in hardcore. Stopping power is not really needed, and Juggernaut often doesn't help. You have 30 health in hardcore, so with Juggernaut reducing damage by 0.75, you effectively have 40 health, and stopping power will still be increasing bullet damage by 1.4. Back on the topic of headshots, the fact that you can get one-shot headshot kills in hardcore makes your life significantly easier for a lot of weapons, mainly things with high recoil. The perfect example of something I would use in hardcore to earn the headshots is the SAW, the highest fire rate LMG. Pretty annoying to get headshots for this thing in regular modes. When you're aiming for the head and not body shots, you're likely to miss a lot and get melted by an M16. In hardcore though, look at that beautiful flat 30 damage, that's all you need. Obviously that means one-shot kills everywhere on the body, and even if for some reason the enemy has Juggernaut, well then that headshot multiplier is finally going to matter because it will overpower the effect of Juggernaut, which remember is like a 1.33333, so no need for stopping power. The saw will always be a one-shot headshot kill unless you're shooting through material, and I will tell you it is incredibly satisfying to just tap kill people with this thing wherever they are on the map. That ping sound is a wonderful thing to hear. I have way more footage than I could ever show of this being incredibly effective, so I'll just have fun with a quick supercut of this game here. You can see that actually half my kills in that game were headshots, and not all of those were even weapon kills. Factor in the grenades and the airstrikes on the helicopters. 16 headshots in one game. The fact that I could be done with the saw headshots in just 10 games of hardcore TDM is pretty crazy, and not like that's an accurate representation of every game. Of course, I'm not getting 16 headshots every time, but that ratio of half my kills being headshots actually stays fairly true, and I could never do that in a core TDM with the saw. Another thing about hardcore that makes it pretty good for headshots, aside from that big one-shot kill potential, is the fact that hardcore is generally a more campy game mode. If you take the time to flank people, you should find that you're sneaking up on a lot more campers than you can in core. Many of my headshots in that game were from finding someone completely unaware and not moving, the perfect easy target on whom to line up a headshot. Speaking of easy target, remember that if you ever find an AFK person, lucky you, remember to switch to whatever weapon is most annoying to get headshots for. So if you have an MP5 and M9 class, you might as well switch to the M9 to get the headshot with that. Now back to our weapon chart here. We went over the saw being a great option. The other LMGs only deal more damage, so they're fun to tap shot with as well, but they're also easier to control in core mode, so you don't need hardcore as much. Basically, once you have the facts here, you will have to make up your own mind on whether or not hardcore is worth it to you or not. Everyone has a different tolerance level for hardcore. You might like it, you might dislike it, or even hate it, and that will determine how many weapons you will complete in hardcore. Maybe a ton of them, maybe none. I could go through all these weapons and be here all day explaining the pros and cons at different ranges, but I don't think anyone needs me to do that. I will, however, list off the weapons I plan to use in hardcore, which ones are a maybe, and which ones I would recommend you use in core mode. So that should be helpful if you don't care as much and just want a recommendation. If you want to look at the numbers, I will link this excellent graphic in the description, of course, for you to look over. You have good old Den Kirson to credit for all this work 9 years ago. Remember that any damage value at 30 or above will be the guaranteed headshot one-shot kill you're looking for. Anything at 20 will require stopping power for the same effect, and nothing drops below 20, ignoring shotguns, of course. So on to suggestions. Here is my personal plan for what weapons to use in hardcore, and this comes from someone who is not a big fan of hardcore. If the weapon is highlighted in red, that means I'll be using stopping power on it for the sake of getting a headshot. To be clear, the red names in the no category means I'll be using stopping power with that weapon in core mode, and in the possible and yes categories, the red means I'll be using stopping power on that weapon in hardcore, probably because it drops below 30 damage at some range. So you can see, definitely no shotguns. As I said before, I run around with those on every shipment game, and I want my full 100 health to get up closer to people. The low 30 health doesn't really help with a shotgun headshot. It makes killing with the body shot equally more likely, if that makes sense. The sniper rifles also do not make sense because, of course, you can get one-shot headshot kills outside of hardcore mode. And yes, I'm using stopping power on all of them simply to guarantee the headshot going up against Juggernaut users. Yes, I know it is overkill if the enemy does not have Juggernaut, and yes, I know the Dragunov does not benefit from stopping power unless the enemy has Juggernaut, because it has no 1.1 times body multiplier regions. That was brought up a lot in the comments on the Tier 2 perk video, and I will agree that a regular Dragunov class might be better off with a different Tier 2 perk other than stopping power, but I like using it because I'm going for those camos and I want those headshot kills. I would hate to see a headshot hit marker. I can debunk another weird comment on that video that claimed you don't need stopping power when facing a Juggernaut user for any weapon except the M40 to kill to the head. Which, no, I'm gonna have to disagree. Wrong. Just do the math on it. All the sniper rifles do 70 damage, and they all have 1.5 times head multipliers. Multiply that, and yep, you're above 100 if nobody has any perks. Factor in the Juggernaut reduction, though, or just imagine that you had 133 health, and yep, look at that. You do need stopping power to cancel out Juggernaut to get the headshot. I can even show you in-game all the sniper rifles getting headshot hit markers on a Juggernaut user without stopping power. No, not even the M40 ACOG will save you. You need stopping power. I did not change the health settings in this match, of course. I've no reason to be lying. Feel free to test it yourself if you think I have any motive at all to be faking this. Alright, now for the M14, you absolutely need stopping power to be able to get a one-shot headshot kill in core mode, and it can do so out to a decent range, assuming no juggernaut. And finally, the M16 is a burst weapon, so you couldn't tap in hardcore anyway, and getting M16 headshots with the awesome damage and tiny recoil is no problem outside of hardcore. I don't know why you'd want to rush getting headshots with the M16. Take your time, enjoy it, have some fun. Now, the possible category is a bunch of weapons that definitely benefit from the hardcore method. If it's in red, then at some range the damage drops below 30, so I recommend stopping power. Not as a good hardcore perk generally, of course, but for the sake of getting headshots at any range, I will reiterate that. But they're in the possible category because while tapping with them can be satisfying, I'm not a big fan of hardcore and will probably complete them in regular game modes. Like, the pistols are fun to tap with, but you have them on your class at all times, and they only require 50 headshots each, so no big deal there, I'll get it done over time. And I put a note on the AK there to remind you not to use a red dot or suppressor on the AK, because that can drop your damage down to 20, where it otherwise would never drop down to 20. I guess you could use red dot stopping power in hardcore if you wanted. The AK has always been weird like that. In the yes category, there are only 3 weapons. If you like hardcore more than me, you may move more weapons into the yes category, but I have these 3 because they have particularly annoying recoil or high fire rate or both, and I'd prefer to tap away in hardcore. So there you have it. Hardcore mode can help quite a bit in earning the camos of Modern Warfare Remastered. Hopefully going through these stats again can help you decide what you might want to be using in hardcore. Like I said before, probably the only video I need to make about the camos. I might make another one eventually once I've earned all the Regals myself, but that's a long way away, so I didn't want to wait and make the usual mistake again, where I wait to complete the challenge myself before making a guide video. Of course, that's meant to show that I know what I'm talking about. I definitely didn't want to make a how to get easy Regal camo video on day 1 of release, but waiting too long would mean I make the video so late that it doesn't help nearly as many people, so I'm glad I made it earlier in the year this time around, since it only really involves getting headshots, and I don't think I'll be learning that much more about getting headshots the more I play. Well, best of luck getting all those 3,400 headshots. It is quite the grind, but it's something to do throughout all the prestiges. Maybe there's no reason to rush getting the headshots at all, since there are 20 prestiges and 1,000 more levels after that. Maybe this game is meant to be played for the next 9 years, until we get that Modern Warfare Remastered VR edition. Alright, I wish you well on your camo grind, and I will catch you next time.